These 8 advanced English words will lift your fluency and your IELTS, TOEFL, or Cambridge score, and you won't just memorize them. You'll meet each one inside the story, feel what it means, then prove you caught it. That's how your brain keeps them for good. The advertisement promised easy money, 1 week alone in a grand old house, and one simple rule. Grace should have asked why the previous house sitter had never come back to collect their pay. The house was even worse than the photographs. A dilapidated mansion stood at the end of a long, dead road, its tall windows like black eyes and its garden swallowed whole by weeds. Inside, dust sheets covered the furniture like pale shrouds, and every floorboard groaned beneath her feet as though the house itself resented visitors. Grace told herself, again and again, that the money was worth it. The owner, Mr. Vane, met her at the door. He was thin and pale and oddly impatient to leave.
"One rule,"
he said, pressing a cold iron key into her palm.
"At 3 o'clock each morning, you will hear a knock at the cellar door. Whatever you hear, whatever it says, you must never open it."
His voice carried an ominous weight she could not ignore. Then he was gone, the gate locked behind him, and the dilapidated house was hers alone. A cold sense of foreboding settled over Grace as the daylight drained away, though she could not have said exactly why. For the first 2 nights, she barely slept. She stayed vigilant, sitting at the kitchen table, watching the clock crawl toward 3. Both nights, exactly on the hour, it came, a slow, deliberate knock at the cellar door. And both nights, she did not move. By the 3rd night, the knocking had changed. It became relentless. No longer a polite tap, but a frantic pounding, on, relentless and growing louder. And then, beneath it, a voice, thin, pleading.
"Please."
It begged.
"Let me out. He locked me in. Please."
The foreboding in Grace's chest hardened into real terror. The voice sounded so human, so frightened, that every instinct told her to help, but she stayed vigilant, her back pressed to the wall, until the first gray light of dawn finally silenced it. In the morning, searching the kitchen for coffee, she found something the owner had tried to conceal, a loose floorboard, and beneath it, a diary, the previous house-sitter's diary. Its final pages explained everything Mr. Vane had so carefully concealed from her. Whoever was locked in that cellar had once been a house-sitter too, hired, exactly like Grace, for 1 quiet week. The knocking was not a monster. It was the last person to keep this house, begging to be freed, and the house would not let its keeper leave until someone else opened that door and took their place. Grace understood now why the foreboding had never lifted. The rule was never for her protection. It was a trap, and she had been inside it from the moment she took the key. A cold presence seemed to linger in every shadowed room, watching her, waiting. That night, she could not bear it any longer. The knocking, the begging, relentless, endless. Against every warning, she took the iron key, walked down the narrow steps, and opened the cellar door. A figure stood in the dark, thin and pale and trembling. Slowly, it raised its face into the light, and Grace's blood turned to ice. The resemblance was uncanny, impossibly, horribly uncanny. The trapped figure had her face, her eyes, her own terrified expression staring back at her. Cold hands closed around her shoulders. The figure smiled with her mouth and stepped past her, up into the house and out into freedom, while Grace was dragged down into the dark. The cellar door swung shut. The lock turned with a final click, and a deep, unnatural cold lingered in the blackness where she now stood, completely alone. Weeks later, a new advertisement appeared online. Easy money. 1 week, 1 empty house, 1 simple rule. A young man answered it, and Mr. Vane met him at the door with a cold iron key and an ominous smile. And far below, behind a locked cellar door, Grace began to knock. Softly at first, then harder, then relentless, desperate, pleading to be let out. Exactly as she had once been warned never to do. "Now, did you catch all 8? Let's find out." An adjective for old, broken down, and falling apart. Think peeling paint, cracked windows, and a roof full of holes. Grace's house at the end of the dead road was exactly this. No one had repaired the what kind of old mansion in decades.
The word is dilapidated.
A dilapidated mansion stood at the end of the long, dead road. An adjective for suggesting that something bad is about to happen. Dark clouds gathering before a storm feel this way. Mr. Vane's single rule was delivered with exactly this weight. There was an what kind of silence just before the lights went out.
The word is ominous.
Dark, ominous clouds gathered over the valley before the storm broke. A noun for a strong feeling that something bad is coming. Your stomach tightens, though nothing has happened yet. It settled over Grace the moment the gate locked. A cold sense of what filled her as the daylight faded.
The word is foreboding.
A deep sense of foreboding kept her awake all night. An adjective for staying carefully watchful for danger. A good night guard never once lets their attention drop. Grace stayed this way at the table, eyes on the clock until dawn. Stay what? The danger could come at any moment.
The word is vigilant.
The lifeguard stayed vigilant, scanning the crowded beach all afternoon. An adjective for never stopping, easing, or weakening. Like rain that pours for days without a single pause. The knocking at the cellar door became exactly this. The what kind of pounding went on hour after hour.
The word is relentless.
Years of relentless training finally paid off when she won the title. A verb meaning to hide something so it cannot be found. A magician does it with a card hidden up a sleeve. Mr. Vane had done this to the previous sitter's diary. He tried to do what with the diary, hiding it beneath a loose floorboard?
The word is conceal.
He had concealed the diary beneath a loose floorboard. A verb meaning to stay or remain longer than expected. The smell of smoke can do it for hours after a fire. A cold presence did this in every room of the house. An unnatural chill seemed to do what wherever she stood.
The word is linger.
A strange chill lingered in the empty hallway. An adjective for strange and unsettling in an almost supernatural way. It's the eerie feeling when something is too strange to explain. The face of the trapped figure was exactly this. The two of them shared an what kind of resemblance?
The word is uncanny.
The two strangers shared an uncanny resemblance, like long-lost twins. Quick recap. How many do you still remember?
Dilapidated. Ominous. Foreboding. Vigilant. Relentless. Conceal. Linger. Uncanny.
New English story every day. Subscribe and learn advanced words the way your brain actually remembers them. Inside a story.